Hey guys, welcome back to Father and Son Investing. We're going to cover a stock today that is a little bit of an old school stock. In fact, once upon a time it was considered one of the best stocks that you could own in the United States. It has since fallen on hard times, but we're going to talk about it today anyway because they're making a bit of a recovery, and I want you to consider whether investing in this particular company now might be worth it for you. We're going to talk today about GE, General Electric. General Electric has been around for a long time, and their stock used to be one of the best stocks that you could own in America. They had a fantastic dividend, and people fell in love with GE. So back in 2000, it had gotten to about $60 per share, and since then, it has just been taking a slow, gradual tumble, sometimes rather steeply, but overall, it's been a long, slow decline. It reached a low of about $5.50 or so. Since then, it's managed to climb back to $14, which is a fantastic increase if you manage to purchase it at its 52-week low about a year ago. We're going to talk today specifically about GE and their healthcare sector. Many of you know that I am in the healthcare business. I'm a radiologist. And so we're going to talk about how GE is doing in terms of innovating in the healthcare sector. In a future video, we'll talk a little bit about the aviation business and some of their other things that GE is into. But today we're just going to talk healthcare and what they're doing. This is an ultrasound probe that you see spinning in front of you. It's called the Vscan Air, and it was just released in 2021. What's unique about this ultrasound probe? Well, if you've ever had an ultrasound done, you will remember that the sonographer was holding a probe that was attached to a very large wire which plugged into a very large machine. You will see none of those here, a large wire or a large machine. This probe works wirelessly, and it connects wirelessly to your handheld device like an iPhone. Now, this is in contrast to some of the other very small, portable, handheld ultrasound devices which still have a cable. I have invested in one of those companies, Butterfly. I think that they have a very nice product which is useful in many areas. But having worked with ultrasound machines myself, the idea of not having a cord attached sounds wonderful, particularly when doing a procedure. So this is an actual picture that I got off the internet trying to show what happens during an ultrasound guided procedure. You should hope and pray that nobody ever does a procedure on you like this. Now, what's wrong with this setup? Well, first of all, the person's not wearing gloves. Second of all, there's nothing covering that probe that's attached to that big giant wire that you see right there. And so that needle is resting right up against that probe, which is about to go right through the patient's skin. Okay, procedures, ultrasound guided procedures are not done like this. Let me show you what the setup looks like. Now the setup sort of looks like this. Even this is not totally accurate, but it displays something that I want to show you, and that is this giant sleeve that goes over the ultrasound probe, that big giant piece of plastic that you can see that has rubber bands holding it onto the probe. That gets to be a little bit of a nuisance because you can see that the operator's arm is only covered so far by the sterile gloves, and then that little plastic sheet wraps around all sorts of things, and you got to try to keep a sterile field going on. Now, what's wrong with this picture? Well, the patient usually would have a bunch of sterile drapes or towels placed around the site that we're going to be working on, again, to try to maintain a sterile area. In this case, the operator's hands could easily touch the patient's chin or hair or the clothing, which they're actually resting their arm on non-sterile clothing. And that, of course, isn't going to be very nice when someone gets an infection because of bad technique. So along comes the Vscan Air, this cordless device, and this will take one of those little sleeve covers, but of course it's going to be much smaller, and it's just going to fit simply around this device. Therefore, there's no cord to get in the way to worry about breaking a sterile field, and the ability to manipulate that probe is going to be so much easier without that wire, big long cord attached. Now, without getting into too many details that might bore you, this probe has essentially two functions within it. One that will allow it to image things more at the surface, like skin or blood vessels in one's neck. This device also has a second probe within it that can image deeper tissue, such as your kidneys or looking at a liver. So it's a two-in-one kind of device. Now, it does lack one important piece that I assume that they will manage to work in as they continue to innovate this product, and that is something called spectral Doppler. While it does have color Doppler, that's the color part that you can see flashing there on the screen, it doesn't have the ability to look at the actual waveform. We call that spectral Doppler, and in that sense you can diagnose some things based on the way that that waveform looks like that you can't just do with color Doppler. One nice thing about this particular probe is that it's designed to be submersible for 30 minutes up to 1 meter of fluid, and it's designed to be dropped from a height, or at least protected from a drop, from a height of at least 4 feet or 1.2 meters. You can see that without the cord it would be very susceptible to being dropped. The submersibility of this product allows it to have high-level disinfection. Why is that high-level disinfection important? Well, according to this, 12.9% of transducers are still contaminated with pathogenic bacteria following routine disinfection. Now, GE still offers their Vscan Extend. That is a similar product, but it comes with a cord. It also comes with a dedicated display device rather than just using your iPhone. It also still comes with the same limitation in that it doesn't have that spectral Doppler where it generates a waveform like I was talking about. While we're wrapping up with GE Healthcare, let me just quickly talk about a collaboration they have with another company called Andra, E-N-D-R-A. Andra is making a thermoacoustic enhanced ultrasound. It hasn't yet received FDA approval, but I would be shocked if it doesn't receive approval. And they are working this different type of probe to be able to measure the amount of fat within the body, particularly the liver. And if you're not familiar with fatty liver disease, it is going to be a huge public health problem within the next few years if we don't do something about this. There are companies that are working on medications to treat fatty liver, and this will be a way of being able to measure it and assess whether medications are effective. Now, they have an agreement with GE Healthcare such that when this probe is approved, they will start placing it on GE ultrasound machines. I see Andra as a potential buyout target for GE once this particular probe becomes FDA approved. That will make a lot of money for Andra stockholders, which I am one of, and will also make a lot of money for GE if they have the exclusive rights to this particular type of probe. All right, enough about GE Healthcare and some of their innovation. There are other things that they are doing. That was one that I thought was the coolest. In future videos, we'll talk about some of their aviation products, and we'll also talk about what they're doing when it comes to renewable energy. Let's just take a look, though, at their financial situation. Of course, to understand how their current finances are functioning, one has to understand where they came from. They went from a company that sort of made everything, and eventually they have been selling off some of their product lines in order to improve their free cash flow. Now, in 2018, their CEO, Larry Culp, took over. He immediately slashed the dividend that GE used to pay. That was one of the big highlights of owning GE stock. That dividend is down to a penny, which is essentially nothing. But by slashing that dividend down, he generated more cash flow that they could use to start paying down debt. They've also been selling off many of their assets in order to consolidate the company and make it a little more lean, and so that they can concentrate on areas that they really do well. So even recently, they sold off or merged part of their jet leasing part of their business with another entity in order to, again, concentrate on what they do well and make their business lean. All of those actions are starting to give a very nice outlook for GE's future. Let's just take a look here. It says, analysts forecast GE earnings will rebound 26 cents per share in all of 2021, up from only 1 cent per share in 2020. Now, keeping that in perspective, though, in 2019 they were at 61 cents per share. This says here that GE earnings are likely to more than double to 53 cents a share in 2022 as sales increase. Now, when it comes to free cash flow, let's just look at how they're doing. Of course, this can be a gauge of the health of the company. In 2020, they generated $606 million in free cash flow. That was down 74%. In 2021, though, they're looking at a target of $2.5 billion to $4.5 billion. So we're looking at about at least 4 times the free cash flow that they did in 2020. So that's going to be it for a review of GE today. We talked about some of the healthcare innovations that they're doing. We will get more into what they're doing in aviation and what's going on with their renewable energy sector in future videos. We can see that they are having good turnaround results. Mr. Culp is doing a great job since he took over in 2018 of making this company lean and concentrating on what they do best. And we can see that their stock price over the last year has done wonderfully, more than doubling over the last 12 months. I like GE stock. I purchased some of it when it was $10 per share. I'm going to be purchasing some more of it as well. We'll just dollar cost average this as it continues to go up. I see a good upside for this company, and I hope that you will take a look at it and also watch the future videos that we'll do the rest of this week. Until next time, enjoy your investing.